Hello, everyone. How are you today? Welcome back to the Bridge by Three. Well, I'm Kenesha,
I'm Candace.
And I'm Kayla.
and today we have an awesome guest with us, Warren.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Yes,
He has an amazing YouTube channel called Create Matter. He's an entrepreneur,
that's right.
artpreneur,
Yes.
and so we're really happy to have him today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. So today we're going to discuss the American dream and what it means to us as Americans, us individually and collectively, and we're going to dive into that. But before we do so, I want to give Rowan a moment to really talk about his YouTube channel, Create Matter.
Well, Create Matter is a platform for artists to showcase their art that may not be heard or have a voice.
Yes.
So I give them a platform so they can be seen, so people could say that artistry is everywhere. So that's what Create Matter is for.
First of all, Juan's my bro. Hey, bro. Ain't gonna say act like that ain't what it is. Warren's my bro. I don't even know how long. My God, over 10, 15?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to start calculating, but definitely my bro. And he has put me on to what he's doing with Create Matter. I've learned that I'm a creative.
You are.
And I'm gonna be honest, I never looked at myself as a creative at all because I always looked at creative people as people that can draw,
Okay.
people that can
Oh,
paint.
okay.
I've always thought of creative people in that sense and always knew, well, I can't draw, and always just chalked it up to, well, I'm not artistic.
That's interesting.
I'm not creative.
Because that's what Create Matter is about.
Yes.
Showing that there are different categories of art that you can get into. You can be an art handler, a curator. There's different steps that you can take to really give your mark in the artistry world.
I know
Yeah.
you've taught me that, and now I even Googled. I'm like, am I a creative? I Google what a creative is, and I'm like, I am. I write poetry. I am
Absolutely.
about to be an author soon. I'm a writer,
Yes.
and in that sense, I am creating. I am a creative. Therefore, I'm a part of the art community. So I just feel really good about that. But this
Okay.
is my bro Warren. That's the great things he's doing. Much more to come.
Yes.
We're going to be together a lot. So you're going to be seeing a lot more coming from Warren, Create Matter, us, everything, collaborations. It's going to be beautiful.
Yes.
So now let's get back to the Bridge by Three. Thank you so much for being here, Warren.
Yes, we're so
you.
happy to have you. So we started off by saying the topic of conversation today is the American dream and what that means to us. As I mulled over that topic, I really thought about what does it mean to me? And what came to mind initially was the American dream really starts at home. And so it's like, what does that really truly entail? So as I thought about the American dream starting from home, because literally, in my opinion, the home is the foundation
Yes.
of where it starts and typically where it ends, right? And so, for example, today before coming here, as I mentioned before, I got up, did a little workout, and as I was doing the workout, I was like, oh my gosh, I kept on stumbling in the process of the workout. It's like it wasn't going according to how I envisioned it to go. And I said to myself, mind over matter. Mind over matter. We have to learn how to push past the struggles that we might encounter
Girl.
and
Don't I know it?
to get to the end result, to get to the goal that we're going after. And then what else comes to mind is like this book that I'm currently reading. It's called The Little Book of Hygge, the Danish Secrets to Happy Living. And Hygge, the way it's pronounced is not how it's spelled. It's like Hygge.
Okay.
But in that book, I've been like really, this particular sentence keeps circulating in my mind. It's like, our words shape our actions. And going back to the home is like the things that you pick up at home, what's said to you, the standards, and all the things that you have been able to cultivate in your space, you take that with you and you take it out. And so when you go out, the goal is whatever you're going to encounter outside is just going to add to that. It's not going to take away from that. And I know typically when you think of the American dream, you're like, okay, the career, the job, the this, the that, and the other. But really is like those standards and the basically the qualities that we have occurred in ourselves that we're just going to foster when we encounter whatever it is that we're going after into the world. So that's what I started off with in terms of like, the American dream and where it should start before, we go out into the world and, figure out what else that there is. So,
I
yeah.
love that. I feel like the character part, building that character and building those qualities of persistence and like loving your life starts at home and loving the people around you. And I want to return back to what you were saying earlier about not thinking that you're an artist. I think that the American dream right now for the younger generations is not even as defined or clearly in a set path as it was maybe even like 5 before COVID, like it's not the same at all. And if you look on social media, you see so much rhetoric about community and about art and about people learning that being a creative or a digital creator or a creator in whatever way that your soul speaks is just as important as the masterful painter, and I think that being a creator is about being masterful in whatever ways in which that means to you and mastering the self. And I believe that it's so important what Warren is doing because it allows people to be seen. And being seen is being in community. And being in community, for me, is my American dream because I know that as long as I have community, whatever the outside world looks like at that given time, it will still be my American dream, okay? A community on an island, if we need to leave.
Right.
A community here in the wonderful New York City. I'm building such a love for my city as I'm growing older, and I'm just so loving life. And that's because I feel like I've reached my internal American dream of feeling as if I'm capable of whatever. I love the fact that my mother is like turning into something that I never expected. And I love that I get to be a part of it, and that feels like the dream in and of itself. And so also you have to realize that your American dream lives within every day, and to meet yourself every day for that and define it. Take the time to understand what that means for you, what your routine looks like, and how are you showing up for yourself and your community.
That's so true.
When I hear the term American Dream, I think of old shows like The Wonder Years.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what I'm saying. I'll show
best.
you later, Kayla. But
The best, yeah.
Kanisha and Warren know what
Yes,
I'm talking
yes, for
about.
sure.
It's the oldest show, and it was based on around the time in the 70s, right? This was around the Vietnam War time, right? Because that also played a significant part in the show. But I think of a family like that. I think of the typical family with your white picket fence. You got your
Right.
mother, your father, your 2 kids, the dog. You have your little property, and you have someone's working. You have a breadwinner. You're living. You're able to pay for what you need. You're living a comfortable enough life, right? I see that as being the American dream. However, for me personally, I cannot say that I relate in any way to even the term American dream. And I say that being a Black woman. I don't see how, well, one, let's go back, right? I don't even know if we as Black people under the Constitution are we still 3/5 of a person? Or did that change ever?
I believe that we might be in the Constitution, 3/5 of a man.
I don't think that ever changed.
I
I
think
don't
so
know. I would
either.
have
I'm
to
not
look
sure.
that up, but I don't think that it has. And even if it did, that's what we were considered at one point in time. When I look at America, I see and I feel all of its flaws
For sure.
very deeply. I look at America as a place that I have been taught and told is better than any other place in the world. I've been taught and made to feel as if being here and living here is more worth it. Like you got to put your all into being here, and if you do, then you'll be great, right? That's the idea that they want to feed us. However, I've lived and experienced much different. I've witnessed much different when it comes to Black and brown people. Just knowing the way that our people came here, wasn't voluntarily. We didn't volunteer to come here. We didn't come here as immigrants because we wanted a better life. We were brought here. So just by those circumstances in itself, I personally, and also obviously there's years of tragedy that's come after that, right? Years and years. Slavery, segregation, blah, 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 blah. What it's turned into today when you don't know what the fuck to call it because, like everything is
Crazy.
it's like things change, but yet they remain the same
Right.
in this world. And when it comes to America, it's like at this point, I feel like we're kind of living in a shit show. And to talk about the dream, it's like I don't think we ever accomplish the American dream. Even I think there were a lot of pretty words that were put out there that were made that were put in on documents and stuff that were made into law. But just look at laws. We've had laws that were against us just for existing. So when you look at like law and which is supposed to be tied to justice and know that that's not what happens for us, what am I dreaming about? It kind of feels like an American nightmare
Right.
as opposed to an American dream. I feel like we're thugging it out. We've been thugging this out for hundreds of years.
I feel you.
Okay?
No, I feel you. Yeah, I got you. See, the thing with me is the American dream. It's just all about tangible resources. Being able to say, okay, I want to do this, and there are resources that I actually can reach so I can attain that, the American dream. But then I look at it and say, what about me here as a Black man? I mean, am I a part of society, or am I just a part of society to clean up things when things get all messed up, or am I the last resort? So the American dream for me is all about being able to have a dream and think that, yes, it's possible for me to do being here in America. So the American dream, would you say a nightmare? I believe that it's a polarity. It can
Okay.
be either or.
Yes.
Okay. And that's
I
the
can
thing.
agree with that,
Yeah,
too.
it can be either or because you can make it your dream anywhere, you're situated on the planet, or it can be a nightmare. But in America, at least you have those resources to try to support your
Well,
dream.
now.
Yes.
At
right.
least we have availability to them now.
Now,
Yeah.
right.
But
yeah.
then you also know, and what we see too, is that these things, these rights can be taken away
Definitely.
at any point in time based on whoever's in power at the time, and I feel like we're experiencing that now. And I'm curious, like for you, Kayla, and your peers, what do you guys think about like that? Like, what do you feel that there's a possibility that rights you have can be taken away, or do you not feel like that?
I think that we're, especially in pop culture, when looking at people getting like treated wrongly, I think that when you look at like artists and Black people that have been done wrong or used by labels or agencies or whatever,
Look at Angie
just as an
Stone.
example of
Rest in peace. Rest in
Exactly.
peace, Angie Stone.
there's a lot of anger, and when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of fandoms against these larger systems. And I know that as a generation, there can be some apathy, and there can be, on the other spectrum, very intense care for learning about rights and learning about how to prevent being taken advantage of. And I think that now more than ever, we've seen the importance of reading the fine script and owning. And I think that that's the message that's been shown. And there are a lot of allies, white people, white like activists that have shown online, used their platforms to teach And I love those accounts. And I love the POC sort of community that has formed on social media and around pop culture as we explore more cultures. I know that K-pop is really popular right now, and using K-pop as an example, like when these people are being like taken advantage of and we're seeing it, and all of the stans are like arguing in the comments, it's about this system that's taking advantage of a person and people seeing it but being on different sides. So I think that community is so important when it comes to the Black identity and people of color, because, and I know that our generation is realizing that and understanding that, and the younger generation as well. I've noticed so much that younger generations are so click and comfortable with each other and being people persons, when I feel like for a long time, as they're growing older, like when they were younger, we were scared because they were online and they were like doing everything, you know, and we were like, okay, are you gonna talk to people? You know, social anxiety was a big thing. But I see that has very much changed, and I don't know where that is coming from, but keep up more of that. And I think that when we're talking about how we feel about the past, we have to talk about what we want to, you know, what is the dream? I ask myself a lot, like, what does it mean for me to be an American? What does it mean for me to be a New Yorker? I identify more with being a New Yorker than an American.
Yeah, I feel
you know,
that.
what does patriotism look like? Okay, but I love Hamilton. I love the Revolutionary War period. It is my,
Like knows all the words to every
Right.
song.
Oh, really?
guns and ships right now, like everything. Okay, so I read a lot of historical fiction as well, and there's this
So you must
trilogy.
appreciate Macbeth.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. It's called
Yeah.
Chains. It's by Laurie House Anderson, and I recommend that you read all 3 books. It is about a slave going through 3 different slaves, a family going through the Revolutionary War period, living under loyalists and patriots. And it's very telling in their story how all they want is human needs.
The basics.
And
Let's talk about Karl Marx, right? And Marxism, right?
okay.
Like in college, I had the pleasure of having this class where we talked about various philosophers, Edmund Burke, Karl Marx, you know, we read the Communist Manifesto, excerpts from it and things like that. And, you know, American society will really have you feeling like terms like communism are like horrible things. And when you take it upon yourself to actually, like, let me see what this is about, or who these people are that America is so against, or they're so bad, when you read about them and you say, what, hold on, Karl Marx, what did he really want? Oh, he thought everyone should have land. Everyone should have access to resources. Everyone should have. Everything should be fair. This is what he believed, and why are we mad at him? You know, college helped me to learn how to think for myself. And that's one thing that I really, really appreciated about college. And that class in particular really helped me to learn a lot about the world, you know. These things were written in 1700s and 1600s and stuff like that. And to know that I always look out for patterns and cycles.
It always comes back.
You know, yes. Things, like I said earlier, things change, but they stay the same. And we're always continuing these cycles. And I wonder if your generation, do you see that? Do you see the cycles? Do you see the ways in which history is repeating
yes, we make
itself?
fun of it. I keep telling you to watch Rick and Morty, Mom.
Yeah, she does. I don't know why it's so hard for me to start that.
It's so funny. And the thing about Rick and Morty and other adult animation and just other satire that we are eating up as a generation, because we love a good jokey joke about something horrible, is that it definitely brings up other, there's this whole episode about fascism, and he's going into different realities, and you're like, oh, it's fascist here. It's hilarious.
So making a heavy topic lighter.
Yes. And
No, as you guys are talking, I'm thinking about, you initially start out by talking about the Wonder Years and the home. Going back to like what I said,
Yes,
like
and I love that you started it there. So yes, go back to it.
you know, the American dream starting from home and the, you know, the standards, like I said, the qualities and all the things, you know, the ethics that you build up within the home and bringing it outside, but not necessarily but like in the home is like your mom and your dad, right? Or whoever, your family dynamic, because as we know, family dynamics are different and there's a variety that could be in the home, grandma, aunts, and all that, uncles, and all that. So it's like they were like, okay, what is your mindset, or what do you see for your future? And usually it starts with, okay, get a good education. Then after the education, you get your career. Then after your career, you create your family, and so on and so forth. And as I think about that, like, okay, get a great education, a good education. And like you said, back to like the resources that you can get and the access to it. This week, I've been like reading up on the DOE. And I'm like,
To be dismantled. We don't know what's happening.
It made me think of of course, the American dream. Because usually it's like, okay, you need to get a great education in order for your life to look this way, right? Because that seems to be the thing that sets the tone. But I'm like, if the access and the resources aren't there, how do you navigate that, right? And I'm just like, it's really sad where possible this is going as far as education. And when I thought about the DOE, you know, I don't know. For me, I just literally thought about just school and not understanding that it's so much more. It's like the Pell Grants, all the other things that come with that, school loans for, you know, what you need for college and so on and so forth. The IEP programs that children need to be able to navigate, hopefully have a brighter future. So it's like so much under the Department of Education that I was unaware of. And I'm like, if this gets dismantled, it will be just really a disservice to so many Americans. So like, how do I go about getting, quote unquote, a better life, right?
Yeah.
If I don't have this under my belt in order to get the job, because it could be as simple as whatever. It's like now people want more than just the high school education. Oh, you have to have a bachelor's degree. I don't know. I'm probably like exaggerating, but even to be able to work like these more computerized cash register, it takes a little tech savviness. I'm like, I was a cashier way back when, but it was so much simpler compared to what they have now. I'm like, I don't know if I could like rock with this, But like thinking about that is like, if that foundation is taken away, what do we have? What does the future look like for our current generation going forward?
I have a question for Warren, because I know, Warren, you're in the process of climbing up a ladder, right?
I wanted to say something.
Okay, yes.
With the American dream. I look at the American dream as the nightmare, as you say, the nightmare, because I'm like, okay, how can I dream with an identity crisis?
Yes.
Okay? How can I dream when I have an identity crisis?
Yes.
Okay. So my dreams are really your dreams. Now, the thing about it is everyone talks about reparations, but I don't want monetary reparations. I believe I deserve my name back. I think America should pay for each one of us, African Americans or any descent that came here, that they should give us our name back so we can gain our identity and then we can dream properly.
That was...
Identity.
Can't follow that.
No. No, that's
like, yeah.
Yeah.
that's
So, because that's what I want. It's all about money. You can buy land, you can buy this. No, I want my identity. I want to know who I am. Because, remember, we went to that outing and we were with a young lady and she was from Africa. And we had the back and forth about Americans and Africans.
Yes.
And the thing is, I felt so bad because she had her last name.
Yes.
She knew her culture and history. Remember, I've been given a culture. Or I've made a culture, but then it's been taken from me. So I'm disconnected. I just want to feel that connection so I can feel my own power, not the power within an institution, my own power.
Yes.
So I can have that power and let it grow.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to do an ancestry test for so long.
Yeah, me
And that's
too.
the thing about those,
I've been
right?
back and forth with that, yeah.
Because they had little tests that you would get one from one place and then you go from another and they'll give you different results. So you're going to have to really, really,
dig deeper,
right, to
Yeah.
understand
That's so true.
because they can tell you anything. Okay, so you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like...
what's trustworthy
You
and
know
what's
what-
not.
yeah, exactly.
What are they doing with your samples?
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
Exactly.
they do keep it in a database for an opportune time.
And it still has access to the database.
Yeah,
It's like we
yeah.
always have to worry about all of these things. But I mean, to go back to what you said, yes,
Mm-hmm.
how can you have an American dream when you have an identity crisis?
Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
And
it's-
I feel like so many of us are having identity crises for one reason or another,
Right.
right? And wow,
how far can you trace your lineage back?
not far.
And you?
I don't know.
Same.
Especially
See.
when, and I say that because unless you're doing some type of a test, like you're speaking about where it comes to DNA, if it's just through your family and talking and the grandma, you got some grandmas like mine that don't share very much,
Oh, right, exactly.
and I think a lot of our families, our kind of Black and brown people's families don't share because there's a lot of pain.
Right.
And there's a lot of secrets,
Yes.
and there's a lot
Right.
of shame
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
pain and the secrets
Right.
and or whatever happened, whatever negativity they experienced or trauma that they experienced, right? That they didn't even have the luxury to call trauma, right?
Right,
Like,
'cause they
what's
have to
that
deal with
word?
it.
That's a new word for a lot of people. But no, trauma's been happening for a very long time, and yeah, a lot of them we don't know a lot because communication has stopped. The oral traditions, the original like art. This goes back to art, right? Like for us as humans, innately, the arts is what we are first inclined to participate in, to exhibit, right? Through talking, storytelling, right?
Right, I
And
was
this
thinking
is
about
how
that, yeah.
right, and this oral traditions is how our stories and customs got passed along generation to generation. But when the grandmas stopped,
Right. Yes.
giving us the knowledge, and when the grandmas became more bitter, when the grandmas were alone because the husbands were whatever happened to them, right? The families were broken up. What happened? Nobody's talking anymore. Now we don't know anymore who was passed beyond great grandma.
Right.
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 You
Where did we
know,
get that
I don't know
information
beyond
from?
that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gives you context as a human.
It really does.
It's so important, and you don't realize that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we talk about identity, right, we're talking about culture, we're talking about what's in our DNA, but
Mm-hmm.
we're also talking about our identity as a human. A lot of us, and you were talking about being 3/4 of a human, and the
3/5.
3/5 of a human. It's like that is embedded in us because we feel lesser than, because people feel like we're not meeting a certain standard. You are enough if you didn't know that.
Well,
As,
we're made to
like,
feel lesser than, but I
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
you have people that I know where I'm just like, hold up, I felt that, and I know we're very similar in that way. No.
But we feel pressurized.
Yes.
We feel pressurized of not being able to show and prove who we really are.
Yes.
Okay, so
But we
Or
don't
to
feel
suppress
like
who we are.
right.
certain
Yeah.
like I know for myself, I can speak for. I'm a person that doesn't feel less than, because I just have the understanding that I have, and I do not feel less than.
you have that understanding because you understand oneness.
Yes.
And like everyone experiencing in a sense the same energy.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because I think that's really important to highlight, because if you don't understand, oneness, you can look at the next person and it will be, what you're experiencing is different from what I am experiencing,
Yeah.
when that's not at all the same thing, though the details may be different.
Yeah, the
It's
narrative is
energetically.
changing. Each generation, the narrative changes. So we have to make the adaptations, to the narrative. But the thing is, who's pushing the narrative? See,
That
that's
part.
that part. You see,
Yes.
and that's the thing. We have to take a hold.
We need to push our own.
Yeah, we do. And I know we
yeah.
heard this over and over again. We need to push our own, but we really do need a collaborative effort and more love to keep that solid. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the effort part.
Yes.
It's the action part.
Yes.
And the
Because,
community
yeah.
part that you spoke about, for sure. Like you said, like the grandmas being able to like tell us what happened before, and so that we can know what to do going forward.
Yeah,
And-
because we learn. Like I always say this to my daughter. Like I raised Kayla and her sister the way that I do, through communication, because I know that that's what's going to help them grow. Also because I know that I lacked that as a child growing up in my home. I wasn't given.
Go
I
back
wasn't
to the
spoken
home.
to. I wasn't given those. Oh, girl, if you ever see this, don't do that. I wasn't given those kind of talks, those sayings, those quotes, those things that help you define you and become you and know what to look out for. Or, I didn't know what the wolves looked like. I didn't know that they could be dressed in sheep's clothing. I didn't know that. I didn't have anybody, but you know what? You're going to know that.
Right.
My daughters are going to know that
Right.
because I'm going to make damn sure I'm going to tell them, look out for A, B, C, D. I will give
Right.
you a full manual and type it up for you.
Right.
Okay? Like, that's the type level of guidance that I try to provide, and not even micromanaging, because I don't do that. But I just want to let you know what to look out for, right? And because I wish I had that and I never did. So, and it's like my ancestors, they dropped it. It's like, sorry,
That's
you
interesting.
dropped the ball. The ball was dropped somewhere. And it's like every generation blamed the other. I know millennials, we blame the boomers, right? Like, and we don't like Gen Z, and
Right,
but
right. That's
where did the ball
And I
drop?
think
This
that-
civil battle, like why?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Civil battle.
we're all connected in some way. It's like, it's like our own civil war within just generations. It's like, why is that the case? Why don't we learn from each other and pull from each other?
I think we're just at a point now. It just reaches a point where it doesn't even matter who the fuck's to blame. It's just about, all right, where we
That's
at
where Gen
now,
Z is
right?
at.
And let's
Exactly.
just move forward, right?
And to your point that you said as far as like what you didn't learn at home, but you said when I have my children, I'm going to teach them differently, is that mindset shift, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, sometimes people, their minds are not there to be able to like, you know what, let me do this differently. Let me do
Because
this.
of the foundations.
Right.
It starts in the home.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that
For
plays
sure.
a large part in
A significant
anybody's
part.
dream or nightmare.
But
Yeah, because
also-
what you see, you imitate.
You're not confined by the home. Say
You're
you
not.
have that
Right.
negative home family and you're hearing things, right?
For sure.
It's about what you tell yourself. It's about the narrative that you push within yourself to combat that, okay? Because you're feeding your subconscious mind whatever you're thinking. If you're choosing to use other people's voices that don't align with who you want to be, then that's a choice that you're making. It's about the actions. If you feel as if you can't take any action, you don't know what action to take, you need to start telling yourself a story of being capable, of being enough, of being, willing. And then as much as you may not believe it, it'll start to come into fruition and manifest itself. So it's really about not confining ourselves to what our reality looks like in terms of impending doom and negativity and recreating those stories and those narratives, which we're really good at, being creative and getting it down, thugging it out. Like the Black experience is getting creative in whatever ways in which we need to do that, in so many different ways, finance, everything.
And bring our own dreams to
But
life.
it takes a lot to exercise that muscle, right? Like what you're saying as far as like what you see in the home, you don't have to become that. It really takes that willpower within you. Like, you know what? Though I see this and this should be my foundation, I don't want to do this because it doesn't align with what, with who you are, where you're going in life. But it really has to be like practicing, those affirmations in your mind, like I am this, I am that, though I see the polar opposite of where, you don't want to go. And it takes strength to do that. And so for your mom to have changed that significantly so that you guys could be different going forward, it's like
Her inner power.
yeah, for sure.
Well, it all
And not
starts with a
everyone has that.
decision, in my opinion, right?
That
it all
is true,
starts with a
too.
decision, the decision to do or not to do,
That's
right?
it right
Whatever
there.
it is. And then after the decision comes the work, comes
Yeah,
the
but what
action.
about the influence? How everything around you influences your decision making? Because we can
Yes.
be taught in the home everything, and then when we step outside, it's something totally different. And there's the decision that you have to make. But when you step outside, you're outside more. You see people doing the nefarious things more. You see them being successful from those things. So, and then your whole is telling you, no, wait. No, I'm impatient. I'm impulsive. I'm young. I want to do this. I need my independence now. So, it goes askew a little bit because this is my thing about the narrative. Okay, so we have music that is derogatory, okay? That says you're a bitch and I'm a nigga, right? And that's how, and we started calling each other that, okay? So we have to take control of the narrative. Like we have to become the FCC and say, wait a minute, you cannot say that.
Yes.
We will not allow. Just like in the household, you will not, well, most of us didn't curse in front of a, so when we get
wouldn't
on
dare
record, right, we didn't dare think of it. So when we get on record, we shouldn't dare think of it either. But since they have monetized it, so now they think that's success. Forget about what I've been taught in a home. It's all about the monetary success.
Yeah, but that's when you don't stay true to your
Right.
morals and values
right.
and the
That's
fundamental
those
you.
key words,
and
yeah.
that
Morals
also
and
is a
values.
decision.
Yes.
Right? So these are all important decisions, whether you realize you're making decisions in the moment of, the
Right.
the heightened senses and all that thing, whether you realize it or not, you made a decision. So be cognizant of what the decisions that you're making.
And stick to them, because it's interesting you said about the cursing. I didn't have that. Well, I mean, I probably heard it here and there in my own home, but when I went out into the world, I definitely heard it more. And I'm like, okay, to be accepted or to be considered cool, let me try. And then when I did personally, I was like, this doesn't sound like me. Who am I trying to impress? And I literally had to make a decision for my own self. Like, even though I might say a word that sounds weird or not cool enough, I'm like, that's who I am. The curse words don't come out.
She really doesn't curse, y'all. Kanisha says, "Oh, Christmas!" Like literally, that's what she does, and
It doesn't come out naturally to me. So I'm like, this doesn't. I feel like your whole soul is being like just crumbled.
Right.
Because I'm like, it doesn't, like you said, align with who you are, that core value that you have developed within yourself. And so going back to that decision, it really takes a decision and really sticking to it. And this is my standard. This is what I'm going to stand on, no matter who's around me. Because I'm like, there could be 1,000 people cursing, but I'm not going to conform to that because I decided, like, no, that's just not me. And I can respect if you do and if you don't, and that's perfectly fine because that's what goes for you. So, yeah.
People admire that. There are a lot of people pleasers, I feel like, in this generation, and then there's people who have certain standards and act a certain way. And I think that you have to get to a certain level of self-actualization and understanding of personal power and discernment to get to a place where you have your own standards and you stay in that, whether you're around a certain group of people. Like, I know that, and especially when you're influenced by the negative things that are happening and you feel very, low, it's important to, have people around you, but then the people around you can also shape what you feel, what you think, and you have to then get to a place outside of, needing comfort to be like, well, no, this is who I am, and this is who I am regardless of who's around me.
True.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Dreaming.
Yeah.
I think that it takes a lot of individual work and
For sure.
intense work, and the work that has to happen is about the story. And I think that in the generational difference is that maybe it didn't take so much, it was so much survival and it was so much deal with certain things that it didn't take so much inner work to care about something or make a different choice or care about yourself or have a level of self-respect because of whatever. And now and for the younger generations, we have to do the work to get out of addiction that everyone is facing, any sort of addiction, phone addiction, number one. It takes a lot more awareness and mindfulness. Yeah.
So how about the energy? Where is the energy going to come from to keep this mindfulness?
I think
Okay, don't look at me. He's looking at you.
the energy
Got this, girl.
that comes from choosing life and choosing to live and understanding what living means. If I know anything about this generation, it's that for a long time we were so depressed. I saw this reel where it's people that graduated during COVID and then now are graduating college and entering the workforce in a recession. It's we can never, we're just not the generation. We're just not the year. We're never gonna make it good. And I was like, this is so sad and so true.
Depressive.
But really depressing. But the energy is going to come, the energy of life of we can overcome, and this is nothing, is coming from the fact that life can be beautiful, and it's meeting yourself in every moment. I feel like I think that being mindful is something that comes a little bit naturally to younger generations because of the cancel culture. We don't want to step on anyone's toes. And I feel like that's changing a little bit now, but that's changing because people are realizing that that's a little stupid.
That's interesting.
And-
like my whole
Step on
cancel
anyone's
culture.
toe.
Yeah.
We gotta step
But
on
if
some
you're gonna
toes.
have a dance, you're gonna step on a toe here and there. So you
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah.
let's not be so
Right.
sensitive.
Yes.
Because in the dance, you're having a good time. You make a misstep, but you're gonna stop dancing and stop having a good time. No, you're gonna keep pushing through
That's
the
right.
dance.
Say, my
you can,
bad.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Let's get back to the gracefulness of the dance and having a good
Yes.
time.
That's
Finding the
that key-
joy.
that
It's
key word.
about finding the joy, wanting to find the joy. There has to be more than this. Faith of a mustard seed, like there has to be more happiness. I know that keeps me going.
Okay.
There has to be more than this. Is this it? I feel like a lot of people.
The thing is,
have
as
that.
a black man, and the anger that we possess, and I think it gets overlooked a lot because we're very angry. Like we said, identity crisis, right? Not being able to connect with the family, being disconnected, not feeling
Taken away.
protected, right? Not feeling protected, or I'm always the last resort. Now I'm the lowest in society, but when there's a war, something is wrong, and no
you're
one
the first up.
Right.
What? You on the front line.
right?
yeah.
Get killed.
Exactly. So and all of our prophets and our great men have been killed. So that fear and anger in us together, and plus not feeling protected.
Yes.
So I feel that the black man, he does not have his identity. He's in crisis. The black woman too. Yes, but the black man is the forefront of the family supposedly, right? And so, but in this culture now, where is he?
Right.
Where is he?
Where is
And how
he?
does he feel about himself?
And is he a he?
I mean, we could get
even
into
gotta
that
ask
another
that
time.
question, too.
Sure.
No,
how
but
do
it's
we
that
shift
deep.
that anger to like more of a more healthy, I don't know, like in a more admirable way? Like how do we like
Yeah, I have that question too.
like
Because we have to pay attention. More attention towards these young men growing up. See, we send them to school, we send them and let other people teach them. And they say, okay, yeah, what you get? You got an A on your class? Okay, that's great. See, that's not enough.
Yeah,
that's not enough.
Yeah.
See, before it used to be someone of the community saw you doing something. They go, hey, I saw you. I'm going to. See, we don't have
And
that
shape up
anymore.
right away.
Right, we
Yeah.
don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
back
a
to the
big
community.
disconnect.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what I say we're at now. And I think we should get more of a communal
That's the
basis
cycle. It's like
to
we're
come
leading
back
to
together.
Because if that's what you guys want, then we're leading back to there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we should go.
Right.
If we want to really raise up as a people, our only resource is ourselves.
That's right.
Yeah, but we have to. It's like it's so sad because within the Black community, I feel like there's always this like tug of war. It's like let's build up each other instead of tear down each other. But it's like I don't know. I guess probably back to slavery, like like the segregation of like colors. Colorism is like okay, you're this color, so you work over here.
The
You're
shade,
that
the
color,
shade, right?
You go over there, and then that's unfortunately still here today. In the 21st century, it's like. Why can't we build a community like other cultures? What's what's the
Yeah.
core of that happening?
I think that this generation, we're really seeing that, and we respond to it in pop culture and the issues and the separation. And we respond to it by being like, this is wrong. This is not how we're going to act. While I'm in college, when you talk to people, you understand. You can even sometimes know like the reels that people have seen based off of how they speak, and their beliefs that people have based off of what they talk about. And it's because we're getting used to speaking our minds and having like a phone to hide behind and knowing what other people are saying and understanding what's wrong and what's right. And then we have people online telling us what's wrong and what's right. And then people pushing the narrative of what's wrong and what's right. And we have to discern. And there's a lot of people and work being done with people saying, use your discernment. There's the what's it called, anti-influencer that's going out now. It's like a big trend of people, influencers sell you products. This is what I used this week, blah, blah, blah. And these people being like, you don't need any more stuff. You're okay.
Right.
That's
how
the
you are.
anti-influencer.
Yeah.
Use what you have.
Influencing you not to be influenced.
De-influencer, that's the name.
Yeah.
De-influencer.
Okay.
And it's like,
Because it's overconsumption of everything that they're like, selling. So it's like, okay, scale back.
and as a generation,
Yeah.
we're talking about it and we're seeing and using our humanness, to use that and be like, no, we're not gonna participate in this. We're gonna be a community of people that think, we're limitless and we're capable.
I was thinking about something you mentioned in the first podcast, well, our first of the year. And when you said as far as like the opportunity to buy a home, right? Because after you get the career, you got education.
Ain't that a big part of the American dream?
Right,
Buying a
right,
home?
right. But I think also
Can any of us here do that right now?
thinking out the box, Listen, we might have to come
Still a little
together.
struggle. Exactly.
Come together, have a
Community.
homestead, buy a land, build on that land, or we might have to move a little bit further
But
away
it's just
because
to know that we might have to do that, but others don't, right? And that's a part of the dream too. That's a
Right.
part of
we want the Wonder Years life.
the duality of the dream. I
Yeah.
would say,
Okay.
the opposing sides of it, two sides of the same coin.
And where things are going, we literally need to learn a lot of things, like going back to home economics class, which they don't have now, which is very important for like life skills, whether it's knowing how to sew or bake or, measuring something to bake, like all those things, which is like you're incorporating so much social development, mathematical skills, and all the things, and with things being like taken off the shelves or like the eggs and the craze about that, I'm just like, okay, we need to have our little farm with our little chicken in the backyard, and like back in the days, like that bartering system, like okay, you have that, and so forth. We share and we really help each other in the community. So
Let's think about what our American dreams would be. Like, what's our takeaways for today?
My takeaway would be to understand how important it is for you to find your own personal power. And you can do that by changing how you feel about yourself and understanding that it's okay for you to be existing. And I understand how overwhelming it can all be. Like, it's so overwhelming to think of how much has to come from us in terms of output. And so I always allow myself to be upset about the amount of work that I have to put in and know that I'm going to be upset while I'm doing it, and that ultimately this is the journey of life. This is, I am a reflection. I am a small part of a larger whole of energy, of existence that I am so happy to feel and be proud of in every moment. And so if I have to feel a little bit of, oh, this sucks, then that's fine while I'm doing it and knowing that I'm getting to a certain place. So I think just understanding, finding that identity and having standards for yourself and meeting those.
All right.
Well, what I was thinking about is back to the sentence that I originally stated in the beginning, like our words shape our actions. And though ideally the home is the foundation, there are things within the home that might not, go with the core of who you are, but really like thinking and really like just basically saying to yourself, this is not who I want to be, or this is who I want to be, and taking that with you out there, because you can go to school and be like just sit in this chair and take up space and not really take anything away, or you could. So it's like going back to like what you said as well, making a decision in every avenue and every path that you travel on this journey called life, to create that dream for yourself, because though that dream of the American dream might be something that's highlighted to us and this is what the path we should take, it might not be that path that you need to take for yourself. You have to probably cultivate that path for yourself. But you probably have to go, a different way to get
the path a
right,
little bit.
straight the path a little bit. Like I'm thinking about like Robert
Yeah, start
Frost.
smell the roses a little bit.
Right.
Have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so true. Have fun. Everything is not so serious, but of course, be serious when you need to be.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, like, really just developing your own mindset in a way that no matter what, things won't shift you. You're gonna stay on that path that you're going, and you will get there, and it will be okay.
That's right. What about you?
Well, I look at it like this. I'm looking at the American dream. I am and I exist. So the only thing for me is to leave the world better than I came into it. So that's my dream, is when I leave from here, I feel that I put an effort and use my energy to make the place a better place. So that's where I'm headed.
I ditto that. Yeah, that was great. My American dream is utopia. May not ever happen, but that is my a utopianistic type of community based living. That's what I would love to experience. And possibly my dream may just not happen in America. Right? So, my dream is my dream. Would love to have that in America, but who knows? And that's where we are.
Well, guys, the American dream, what it means to us, what it means to you, the Bridge by 3.
That's right.
And we thank you for
And thank you, Warren,
Yes,
for,
thank
being
Warren for
here.
being here
Create
and really
Matter. Check
expounding
out
upon-
his YouTube channel.
Yes, Create Matter.
Like and subscribe.
You know
Click
it.
like, y'all.
Yes.
Please subscribe.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
click.
yes.
Just press the button. Press the button.
comment. We love conversation in, the comment section.
Yes,
Please.
tell us your American dream. What are your dreams?
Yes, we will love
Thank
to
you.
hear.
All right.
Bridge by 3.
Bye.
Bye.